Hey everyone, welcome back to Connecting the Dots. On today's episode, I am chatting with Kelin Marquet. She is a friend, a colleague, and the co-founder of the supplement brand Why Not Natural. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you've definitely heard about Why Not Natural, and if you've worked with me as a nutrition client, you might have also been recommended a product from Why Not Natural. I really love this brand because they stand for using clean and minimalistic ingredients. Every ingredient that they have in their product has a purpose, which I love, and Kelin will go into a lot more detail about the process when she is creating a supplement and working with her chemist. Some of you wrote in asking questions for her that you've been wondering about supplements, and we talk through all of those questions that you asked. We chat about what to look for when you're buying a supplement, what to look for on supplement labels, and really give you a well-rounded Supplements 101 conversation. I'm so grateful that Kelin and I connected about 3 years ago on Instagram, bonding over our love for health and wellness, and our friendship has just grown over the years, and we've been able to support each other's businesses and become friends. So really cool full circle moment, and I'm so grateful to be able to have her on the show finally. It has been a long time coming. I think I floated the idea about her being a guest on the show at the start of season 2, so almost a year and a half ago, and today is the day that the episode gets to come out and our idea came to fruition. So a little bit more about Kelin before we get into the episode. She is a chemical engineer and the co-founder of Why Not Natural, a brand of natural supplements that you can find on Amazon and their website, whynotnatural.com. They have a proprietary list of standards they follow in creating their supplements and believe in making clean, minimalistic supplements that actually work. Their B12 was ranked best on the market by Labdoor, and they have thousands of reviews online. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction. My name is Kelin Marquet. I'm the co-founder of an all-natural supplement brand called Why Not Natural. And as Kathlyn said, we have been internet friends for many years, so it's so nice to finally connect. And thank you so much for, sharing about our products in the past and being along for the ride for all this time.
Yeah. I have so many questions just about you in general, but before we get into all things you and supplements, our opening question this season is, what is a daily ritual or habit of yours?
A daily, one bad habit is matcha latte. I cannot help but have a matcha latte like every day. So yeah, I just love having matcha or a matcha latte. It's something I look forward to, and the matcha itself is a healthy thing to add to my day. Helps like the whole process of it, like the ritual of making it. I don't know. I just find it very soothing. I know the right answer was my supplement routine, which is also part of it, but it's right in front of me, so that's the first thing that came to mind.
I love it. Well, we're going to be talking about supplements the whole conversation, so I'm glad
it's true.
offered a little something else. And I need to know, because I know we connected on Instagram one time about pistachio milk, but what milk are you using in your latte?
That's
pistachio?
It's pistachio milk. Yeah, my husband just brought that one to me from our favorite coffee shop. He was out working there and he just came back, so he brought me that one. But yeah, at home I just make matcha with water, but whenever I get the matcha latte, it's pistachio milk, and I love it. And it's extra green. It's so pretty.
I love it. Personally, I'm so curious because we've never chatted about this. I've been following you. Pre this conversation, we were just catching up and realized that I've been following you since the beginning of your Instagram days, early in your company. And so I remember watching some videos about you sharing your prior experience and why you wanted to start Why Not Natural, but would love for you to share a little bit about that with our audience, because I always find the origin stories to be really cool.
Sure, yeah. So actually my background is chemical engineering. I was working in the corporate world. I was actually working offshore, so not totally corporate, but on oil rigs. But I was always really into natural living, natural wellness. supplements. I actually did like when I was in college, I did research in the nutrition department because it was such a strong interest for me, even if I didn't think that I could actually pursue that with my degree. But I actually, years ago, technically bought Why Not Natural. It was only 2 products at the time, and it had only been 2 products like since the beginning in 2016, the B12 and the vitamin D capsules. And I had wanted to start a supplement company. So I approached the founder and he agreed to sell it to me. So then since then, I've just been expanding it because I just had this vision of what it could be based on how good those first 2 products were. And so I've been expanding the line ever since. And now I think we have about 20 products. We're getting close to it. So yeah, that's my background and a little of the background of Why Not Natural.
Oh, that's so cool. And was there a reason? I know that you said in college you were interested in nutrition and supplements, but when you decided to make the pivot, was there a reason that you're like, I am so passionate about the supplement industry, I want to take over this company? Or did it just feel like a natural career move?
Yeah, I had already been selling, but I knew that what I wanted to do is supplements, and it kind of like we found each other. The founder wanted to sell, and I had been kind of like a little scared to take the leap, but I knew that I wanted to develop supplements, and so it's just meant to be. Like we found each other at the right time. Yeah. So it gave me the kick I needed to actually do it.
Yes. And one of my favorite parts about following you is how much education that you provide your consumers and followers. So, how much research goes into designing and creating a new supplement?
So, it's not just a lot of research, but also a lot of like experimentation, and there's our end of the research, well, me really, which is looking into what do the studies say about what the dosage should be, and what other things that you should combine this with, what's the best form, things like that. And then my chemist, he will do the research in terms of like stability testing. Is this actually gonna work? I'm a huge nuisance to them because I have all these things that I am like, we're not putting potassium sorbate in our liquids. For the capsules, we're not going to put excipients, fillers, all these things that help the machines work better. So yeah, so they have to do the testing to make sure that it actually is feasible in the way that I want it. So yeah, it's like a different type of research on both ends, like their research into whether we can actually make this happen, and my research into like the visualization of what I want the product to look like. So some products have taken a year to develop. We have some things that like 6 months ago we started working on that are still in testing to see if it's going to work out. So I think, yeah, our products take a lot longer to develop than a lot of other ones on the market just because they're particular. But yeah, I'd say 6 months to a year probably for each product.
Wow, that's so amazing. And I love how you named a few of the things that you're not putting into your products. I think you said potassium sorbate and some other fillers. Can you talk to our audience a little bit more about why you're choosing not to include those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is just that these additives are not meant to they are meant to make the machines work better, make things be able to be produced faster, have a longer shelf life, but they are not things that are going to give you any benefit. And so to me, it's just, why would you add anything that is not necessary and not beneficial if we can find a way to do without it? The more ingredients that you have, the more chance you're going to have some kind of negative reaction to the product that maybe isn't going to work well for your body. They can also, a big factor, especially with capsules, is that they can cause you to not absorb it as well. It can make it not break down as quickly. There's like the Centrum type of capsules not capsules, tablets, where they're super compact. So those things aren't going to break down as quickly, and you're not necessarily going to absorb them as well. So I just always have this perspective that the fewer ingredients, the better. If you can have just active ingredient, why wouldn't you do that?
Totally. What are some other specific names of ingredients that you don't use in your products and that you think people might want to keep their eyes out for when they're choosing supplements?
Yeah, so silicone dioxide, titanium dioxide, there are like any benzoates, stearates like magnesium stearate. These are all things that we don't include. Dyes, of course, are a big one. You see in a lot of supplements. And a lot of people think we have dyes in things like the B12 because it's bright red. You can't really see actually, but we don't include dyes in any of our stuff. No food coloring. And of course, synthetic preservatives like potassium sorbate and sugars. We don't add any kind of sugars to any of our products.
Yeah. I love how when I first started looking at your products and deciding to offer them to my clients, I loved how which product that you use, the peppermint oil?
Oh, the D3K2, yeah.
Yes. I was like, that's so genius because one, it tastes good. Two, you have the fat soluble with the fat soluble. Because is it coconut in there or?
It's MCT oil derived from coconut. Yeah.
And I was like, this is like an amazing product. Every ingredient in there is so stellar. It tastes good. It's intentional. It's healthy. I was like, oh, it's amazing. So I think it's so cool how you're going against what's conventional, where so many people think you need to have the sugars or the dyes to make it profitable, marketable. I don't know the correct terminology, but I think that yours are so much better.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the great thing about the D3K2 is it's already in the MCT oil. So ideally, you still maybe want to take it with a meal, but you don't have to because you do have it already in fat.
Yeah. And I know that something that you're really proud of is the certifications that Why Not Natural has. So could you just explain to listeners what those certifications are and what they should be looking for good quality supplements?
Yeah, sure. So you always want to see GMP certified manufacturing or NSF. They're both good. There are other ones like USP, but GMP is essentially just means that you have standards in place to ensure the quality of the finished product, to ensure everything is going to be standardized. So it's not one batch they made sure everything was okay, but then the next batch, like they're maybe doing things a little different. It covers everything from like sick employees, so you don't have somebody coughing into your supplement and packaging it up, to finished product testing. We third party test every batch of every product, and if anybody ever needs to see those results, they can just email us with the batch number. And so we have everything is GMP certified, and it's the manufacturing that is certified, that gets the certification. So yeah, we have used GMP manufacturing. For some of the products, it's even NSF certified. That's sort of like a step beyond. They're both, I mean, if it has either one of those though, then it's a good product. But you always want to make sure that it has those certifications if you're buying a supplement.
Yeah. Especially because I read somewhere that like anybody could just say that they're third party tested. So you want to make sure they're actually using the reputable organizations to third party test.
Oh yeah, there's no regulation over like what you put in your bottle. Basically, the only thing you can't do is make claims that it cures a disease. Yeah. But you can put third party testing. Nobody is going to come and check if you're actually third party testing your stuff. So yeah, it's definitely not like a regulated claim. I've seen a lot of bottles that say third party test, and I'm like, you sure?
Yeah. So it's really helpful for consumers to know because they might have heard, oh, third party testing is so important. And then they see that and they're like, must be.
Right. Yeah.
So really helpful to know the specific stamps to look for. Another thing that actually some of our listeners wrote in and asked me to ask you during this conversation, and we kind of touched on it a little bit when you were talking about the research that your chemist does, but bioavailability of nutrients in specific supplements is something that they're really confused about, which I totally understand. Bioavailability in and of itself can be a really confusing term if you don't know what it means and how the body works. So would love for you to break down what that means and then maybe provide an example or two of things that are less bioavailable and more.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things that you and I probably take for granted when you say bioavailable, but to the average person, they may have no idea what that means. So it's just essentially how well your body is absorbing it, what percentage it's absorbing it. So you may have some ingredients where, like, take magnesium, for example. There are so many different forms of magnesium, but some of them may have 5% absorption. Some of them your body may absorb, the majority of it. So really, you just want to, with minerals, this is especially important because when you break it down, a mineral itself, the elemental mineral is a metal. Your body doesn't want to, if you just had elemental magnesium, your body would not absorb it. So it's important not only for the absorption so that you actually get those benefits, but also for it to not be irritating to you that you take a bioavailable form. So what does that mean with magnesium? It means that it is bound to something that your body actually wants. So, okay, here's an example. This is our quadramag. So we have 4 different forms: glycinate, taurate, malate, and orotate. A lot of the magnesium that you see in the market is going to be magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate, magnesium sulfate. And these forms that are considered laxative forms, they are less bioavailable. So you are going to actually absorb less into your system compared to what if you take magnesium glycinate, which is bound to the amino acid glycine. And that is something that your body very much wants to absorb. So you're going to absorb the magnesium along with it. You take a less bioavailable form like magnesium oxide, then you're going to have that laxative effect. It's going to be irritating, and you're not going to get those benefits of the magnesium. So every mineral has, forms that have been studied where they measure how much is in your blood, in your urine, etc., after, to see how much you're actually absorbing. Every mineral has kind of a hierarchy, but you want to get chelated ones that are bound to an amino acid. It's a little bit more complicated with vitamin forms, but the natural form is typically going to be better absorbed than like a synthetic form. Like for B12, for example, a methylcobalamin is going to be better absorbed than cyanocobalamin. But yeah, I know that maybe that's a little bit too much information.
No, I mean, last season we had a naturopathic doctor on the show who was talking about how if you have MTHFR, you're going to want the methylated form of B12. But if you have like specific allergies, then maybe you don't want the methylated. And it blew up on TikTok. It made us go viral. So the people care about this very nitty gritty specific.
Actually, I remember that video and the doctor you had on. Yeah, it's great information. But yeah, I think you want to take like hydroxycobalamin, right? If you have a methylated vitamin sensitivity. But yeah, I know it's these things that people don't realize there's this huge difference in different forms, and that there are multiple bioavailable forms. There's not like one good form and one bad form. It's a hierarchy, and it's very dependent on the individual, what things you're going to tolerate. It's a complex world out there.
Yes. And I love how you call it a hierarchy. I've never heard that before, but it's so true, especially when you're trying to find the right supplement for the right person. And an example that I had of that is I had a client who was taking a zinc that they were getting from their grocery store or drugstore, one of the two. And they had their blood tested, and their blood tests were showing that they had low zinc. And they're like, this makes no sense. I take zinc. And lo and behold, it was zinc oxide, which in that hierarchy, I think you use magnesium oxide as the example. Same situation with zinc. It's for the body to absorb. And so I was like, well, this is literal proof showing you that that's just not the right kind for you. So we switched to a more bioavailable kind, which is cool.
Oh yeah. So what did they find? Did they find when they switched forms that they had better results?
Stay tuned. New client just switched them like last week.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And I actually recommended your magnesium to her. So
oh well, thank you.
Really excited about that. Because same thing, her magnesium levels were low and she was taking not as great kind of that. So moving and grooving there.
Yeah.
Along the same lines of the bioavailability and kind of the hierarchy and complexity of finding the right form of the mineral or vitamin for you, dosing is also along the same lines. So can you speak a little bit about why dosing matters?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's this very delicate balance between not getting enough and getting too much for everything. Where it gets really complicated is vitamin D. I would say that's the most complicated one because some people may take a small amount of vitamin D and they respond really well to it. Their vitamin D level goes up. Some people may need a huge dose and just to get their levels back on track. So it's a very one like that where it's like a hormone. It's a very individual thing, but for the most part, most minerals, especially, and most vitamins, you want to take the dose that has been studied and you don't want to exceed that upper limit. So zinc is a pretty good example of this because a lot of zinc supplements are overdosed. Not to say you'll overdose and like have an overdose,
Right.
but they have 50 milligrams or more in them. And I know a lot of people have a bad reaction to zinc, and I think that's part of it, is that they're taking too much. So you want to take enough for it to be effective, but if you take too much, especially with a mineral, then you will likely have digestive issues. But with like water soluble vitamins, it's not there are 3 B vitamins that you don't want to take too much of, but for the most part you don't have to worry as much. But the fat soluble vitamins, they do build up in the blood, so you don't want to take too much. You want to keep an eye on your blood work and make sure that you're responding well to whatever you're taking, because those ones like vitamin A, for example, and we sell a vitamin A, but you don't want to take too much for too long, because then your body's just going to keep storing it and storing it. But yeah, dosing it's a little bit complicated, especially for something like vitamin D, but it's straightforward with herbs, I would say, because for herbs, like we have this herbal blend, we just look at what the research shows is an effective dose for whatever result we're hoping to give people. And that's how we figure it out.
I took that herbal blend this morning before my smoothie.
Oh, did you?
So, have been loving that for blood sugar, and wanted to touch on what you were saying about vitamin D, because it is insane how much research there is about it and how kind of inconclusive it is about, is the daily recommended amount too low? Does it depend on like what is your exact reasoning for taking it? What does the studies for that exact purpose show? And just like being really mindful of what you're taking instead of being a consumer who just sees something on the internet and is like, cool, I'm going to order this, and not really be aware of how much you're ingesting and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important to have somebody like you, like guiding you and looking at your blood work to see how you're responding to things, right? Because yeah, you can't take it for granted that the dosage that you take is going to be the right dosage for you.
Yeah. And when you are putting dosing on your supplements, is that just based on the research, based on the average? How are you coming up with that?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. We do tend to, like for the herbal blends especially, we try to look at the research to see what has been shown to be an effective dose. Sometimes though, we might, like, where's my magnesium? So our magnesium glycinate, for example, we have a one capsule that actually only gives you 17% of your daily dose of magnesium. So this is honestly the reason that we dosed it at that level for the magnesium glycinate, is because we saw that this is what people wanted. People wanted the 500 milligrams of magnesium glycinate per capsule. So yeah, but that's not necessarily all you need in a day, right? Is the 17%. So it really depends. We of course do take into account like what people are looking for in a supplement, but yeah, for the most part, we just look at what is an effective dose of this. Like what have people responded to in studies, basically.
Cool. That's really awesome. I just love like when I'm reading your website and looking at the notes that you have on the side of the supplement. It's very rare that I see companies really talk about why you chose the ingredients, like the dosing, the studies that went into developing the product. Like it's just so cool that you do that.
Well, thank you.
And really, it makes me feel good when I'm recommending it to clients, because they can see what I'm reading and why I think it's good for them.
No, thank you. Yeah, we try to be transparent about like, here's what we looked at, and so that people can do their own research as well and reference those things, and yeah, be transparent about why we chose what we chose.
Yeah. And then another thing that you mentioned about zinc, about how some supplements have way too much. Another issue that I've found with clients is if they're taking a multivitamin and like a supplement that also has zinc in it, like then they're doubling up and having way over the 40 that is the upper limit.
Right, yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
not great either.
Yeah, it's not great. And then you run the risk of maybe a copper deficiency, for example. Like, you can mess up the other things in your body.
Yeah. So I am grateful that you kind of had mentioned that, because it's another thing to just look out for when you're taking multiple supplements for different reasons, and you're taking a multi, and when someone says that you're zinc deficient, so you're like, oh, I'm going to add more zinc. Just being aware of like your own personal dosage.
Yeah.
Because they add up.
Right. Yeah. And so even some, like, you have to be careful with what, okay, the Prime energy drink, for example, that has like a full day serving of vitamin A. So sometimes you take things and you don't realize, okay, the drink you're taking also has a bunch of things. So yeah, you have to be careful, because a lot of things are fortified. So it is easy to go over the upper limit, which can be dangerous for some things.
Totally. So that was just like a really good note to flag. And then other minerals to be more cautious of that I think that people can overdo is iron, sodium, and calcium. Is there anything else that I'm missing that you think in the mineral standpoint that people could be like overdoing or just need to be more conscious of their dosage?
I think you covered it, but that's good you mentioned the calcium, because so many people supplement calcium when they may actually need like a vitamin, like a D3K2, and they're taking calcium, when calcium, most of us are getting enough in the diet. But yeah, I've heard so many people taking a calcium supplement, and it can be dangerous.
Yeah. Can you maybe just highlight why they might need vitamin D instead of another additional calcium supplement?
Yeah, sure. Well, what vitamin D, D3K2, it helps you get that, absorb that calcium and distribute. The vitamin K helps distribute it to the right places so that it's not ending up in your soft tissue. It's going to your bones and your teeth instead. So you may be consuming enough, you may just not be absorbing it. So yeah, it's really important. I think if you have low calcium, check your vitamin D level, see if you're actually getting enough vitamin D. You may find that's more effective, because there are a lot of sources of calcium that most people have in their diet already, not just dairy, like, things like leafy greens. There are a lot of different dietary sources that are a lot easier to get than it is to get enough sunshine for a lot of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even vitamin D through food is so challenging. It's like a select few fish and mushrooms are really like
Right. Yeah. And then the mushrooms, they have to be grown in the sun, which almost none of them are. And the fish, I mean, swordfish is the best source, and it is really high in mercury. So yeah, it's not a great selection out there if you're trying to get food.
Not ideal. So thank you for highlighting that for listeners too. A question that I have always had is, why are certain supplements better as a liquid and certain ones better in like a capsule form?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, so a lot of people say that liquids are better absorbed. I don't think that's necessarily true, especially if you don't have a lot of the fillers, like ours don't have any extra ingredients. I don't think that liquid is necessarily superior all the time. I think it's just a lot easier. And ultimately, whatever is more convenient and easier for you to take is going to be an easier habit to implement. A lot of people don't like taking capsules, or it's hard to keep that habit, right? So I think liquids are just preferable for most people, but not everybody. Some people actually prefer the capsules. They like to put it in their little, pill things. So yeah, I don't think that one is necessarily superior to the other, with some exceptions, like our vitamin D. I love our vitamin D capsules, our D3K2 capsules, but I would sooner take the liquid. Yeah. because it's in oil, and I think that is a better format, but I don't think it's necessarily better for like B vitamins, for example. We have our B complex, it's a liquid, but it's mostly just because of the convenience of it. I think it's a lot easier to take that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny working with clients. Sometimes they don't care, and sometimes they have a very big preference one way or the other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it always surprises me when people say they prefer capsules because I'm like, I don't get it. But
Yeah.
and then of course something like that, if you take berberine, you wouldn't want a berberine liquid. It's yeah, it has a strong taste. So some things are meant to be in capsules.
Noted. Thank you for that. Because I've always just been curious, like, is it a bioavailability thing? Is it just a preference thing? Why are they offered both ways? So thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
Another listener question that we got was, what are supplements that are impactful for your gut health?
The first thing that everybody thinks of is probiotics. Yeah. Probiotics, though, of course, there are a million different strains. So you have to be mindful of that when you're taking them. Not all of them are going to be equally effective. Probiotic foods, I think, are a really great way to get ones that are going to be really beneficial for the gut, like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, things like that. But one that I feel like is underrated, people don't talk about enough, is zinc. Zinc is so good for your gut. There are so many studies showing all these different benefits for gut health for taking zinc. So that's one that I really love. And there's a lot out there. A lot of people are talking about L-glutamine, but I'm not sure what you've seen. The most research that I have seen on L-glutamine for gut health is for IBS. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen a lot of evidence for gut health when you don't struggle with IBS from L-glutamine. But yes, those are some of the better ones though. Zinc, a good probiotic with a lot of CFUs and the right strains. And yeah, I think those are the biggest ones.
Yeah. And I love how you pointed out that all probiotic strains aren't just like naturally going to be work for you or do good things for you. And it's something that I've shared with clients a lot about, because they're like, I've been taking this probiotic for years and I don't feel any different. And I'm like, well, maybe you already have that bacteria and you don't need to continue to do it. And something that I've found really interesting over the last year and a half as I have been in private practice is running stool tests for people and actually being able to see the different strains that their gut needs and the strains that they don't need because they're happy and fruitful and all is well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done one of those a couple of years ago, and yeah, it's very good information to see what's going on down there.
Yeah. And I love how you mentioned zinc too. And I think that over the last 4 years, people have really started to connect your gut health with your immune health. And so people are now knowing that zinc is so good for the immune system, but they might not have made that connection of, oh, why? Because it's so good for your gut. So glad that you highlighted that too. And some things that I'm starting to do a little bit more research myself on is collagen. And I know that you have an awesome collagen supplement. And collagen is all the rage. I feel like once a week I have a client be like, so what do you think about collagen? Should I start doing it? So would love to hear more about why you decided to create a collagen supplement and what are some benefits of taking it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, mostly because I wanted to a collagen supplement. A lot of our supplements are very selfishly created. Like I want it, or somebody that I care about, I want them to have it. So yeah, I have it right here. Actually, this one might be almost empty, but so we could see that a lot of people wanted like a dropper format. They wanted to be able to take something with you. So it was my mission to get as much, you can see how it's super thick, to get as much collagen into this dropper as we could get without it becoming glue. It took a long time because it was kind of glue at first, but we managed to get it without putting potassium sorbate. And it is a marine collagen, which is all type 1 collagen. And that's great for your skin, for skin hydration and skin elasticity and texture. And which is basically the mainly I think this is really good for like vanity reasons, just for like skin health and nail health. And we use, as I said, marine collagen. It's wild caught. It's really important to me that it's going to be wild caught, and it's a byproduct of the fishing industry. So it's a very sustainable product. It's from, unmarketable parts of the fish, like scales and bones. Hopefully that doesn't put people off of it, but to me, it doesn't taste very fishy. It's very thick though. It's very thick. So I like to mix it into a drink. And yeah, so that mainly was the reason that I wanted to do it, because I wanted to take it.
And is there a reason that you put biotin with it?
Well, mostly because a lot of people wanted that. So that's what a lot of people were looking for. We do, of course, do market research as well as like other types of research when we're making things. So a lot of people wanted to see biotin with it. Of course, if you're low in biotin, then you're going to experience things like hair loss, problems with your nails. So it's kind of like a addressing the same issue from two different ways.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a natural pair.
Yeah, exactly.
They definitely work super well to address some of the same reasons. And I think it's great that you are able to meet a need in so many different ways, not a collagen powder, because there's so many. And then I love how you said that it's type 1 and wild caught. So, kind of along the same lines, my listeners were wondering, okay, what are other nutrients for skin health? So, supplements that you would say would be great for the skin.
Yeah, so vitamin A and zinc are two of the best ones for skin health. Let me see. I think I have my vitamin. Yeah, vitamin A and zinc. This zinc, by the way, we haven't released this one yet, but those are two of my favorites. Oh, and one more, vitamin C also. Those are really good for the skin. Vitamin C, actually, a lot of people think about like putting retinoids on their skin and vitamin C on the skin, but it's even more effective just taking it orally. Vitamin C and zinc, they help with collagen production. They help with, and vitamin A, they help with protecting your skin from sun damage or even like reversing sun damage. Those are some of the best ones. And in addition to collagen, and omega-3s also are really good for skin health. But yeah, those, I would say vitamin A and zinc are the first ones I think of, because I have historically struggled with acne, and those ones have been really helpful for me. And then a lot of the treatments for acne are vitamin A based anyway. They're derivatives of vitamin A. So that's a really good one.
I did Accutane, so I know.
Oh, me too. Yeah, in high school. Yeah, that was.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you know all about the dry lips and the struggle.
My junior prom pictures are terrifying. So
Oh, really? Are you like peeling?
yes. So I actually really appreciated how you said earlier in the conversation when vitamin A was brought up, that's something that you want to be wary of the dosage. Because as a former Accutane user, I'm sure you remember having to sign your life away that you will not get pregnant while you are taking it because of the amount of vitamin A that's in it that could cause birth defects.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you do not take vitamin A if you are pregnant or you are thinking about getting pregnant. Yeah, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah. And so that,
unless your doctor tells you to, of course.
yeah. And I even in my training, because liver is such a good source of nutrients and it's very high in vitamin A. So even some of the people that trained me said, don't even recommend organ meats to someone who's pregnant for that reason.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. Just wanted to put the PSA out there that vitamin A dosage really matters.
Yes, definitely.
Especially if you're trying to conceive or have conceived. And something that I know that you've just come out with a magnesium or coming out with the magnesium that's really helpful for sleep. So
yes.
I'll have to chat about that a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah. Magnesium glycinate is a good one for sleep, for helping you get to sleep, relaxation. But yes, the one I think you're mentioning is the magnesium L-threonate. So this one, by the time somebody's watching this, we'll have launched it, but it's a magnesium L-threonate that has L-theanine and apigenin. So if you're not familiar with those two ingredients, L-theanine is an extract of green tea and apigenin comes from chamomile. So those are really good for sleep, for stress. And magnesium L-threonate is a patented form of magnesium that a lot of people say that it is the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier, which is not true. All magnesium crosses the blood-brain barrier, but it is thought to cross it to a greater extent. And I have this Oura ring. I always track my sleep, or I have been for the past few months. And I thought I was sleeping really well, but I was wrong. I was looking at my data, And I was not getting enough deep sleep. So I was getting like 15 minutes of deep sleep every night. So I started taking 4 capsules of this, which gives you, so 3 capsules is a serving size. It gives you 72 milligrams of magnesium. So 4 capsules gives me around 100 milligrams. And the amount of deep sleep I've gotten has just, it's been like an hour a night now. It's crazy how much it has impacted my deep sleep. And my husband, he has struggled with his sleep. And since he started taking this, he said it feels like he's in a coma. So it's really good for sleep. And I actually didn't think it was going to be that good for sleep because all the research I had seen, it's not really on sleep. It's on L-theanine maybe, but for magnesium L-threonate, it's been on like cognitive function, cognitive performance, reducing cognitive decline in older people. So yeah, it really surprised me how much that helped with sleep. But yeah, it's a good one. I love it, and I'm hoping everybody else will love it too.
I'm so excited. And I know that when we've chatted before, you've said that you had your own struggle with sleep. So I can't even imagine how amazing this has been for you.
Yes, definitely. And actually, magnesium glycinate has helped a lot with just being able to fall asleep more quickly. So that now it's like the whole fixing all my own issues. But yeah, I really struggled with sleep, especially after each time I have 3 kids. So each time I had a kid, I felt like it set me back again. But I really struggled with insomnia the first like year and a half after each kid. And I went to a sleep doctor and they said, oh, like there's nothing we can do about it besides putting you on sleeping pills, which was not something that I was okay with. So yeah, I kind of had to like figure out my own way to solve this issue, which thankfully, yeah, I did.
Yeah. And I've seen you post about L-theanine quite a bit over the last few years. So love to hear if that has impacted your journey. Is that one of the reasons why you chose to put it in this supplement? If you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it is because yeah, like you said, I've been talking about it because I've been taking L-theanine and I have like trust issues with supplements a lot of the time. So it's like I'm not 100% sure, what I'm taking unless I made the product. So it was really important to me to have a product with L-theanine, and to me, these are a perfect stack. Like these 3 ingredients, they're so complementary. And it has 250 milligrams per dose of this per 3 capsules, 250 milligrams of L-theanine, which is a pretty substantial dose. But yeah, I think it's such a great ingredient for calming and for helping you relax. With other L-theanines that I've taken, I've had sort of mixed results. But yeah, this one, I think because it's with those 2 other ingredients, I really think that's a big part of why that one is working so well. Yeah, I hope that really helps people, like especially people who suffer with anxiety or like racing thoughts at night. I think it's really gonna help them a lot.
Yeah, especially with the chamomile extract.
Yes. Yeah, epigenin it's kind of like this up and coming thing that not a lot of people have heard of, but yeah, I think it's very calming and soothing too. Yeah, it's a great combo.
Would love for you to share, like, if you had a couple supplements that you think almost everybody, of course, you and I both understand that there's caveats, extenuating circumstances, whatever. But for the general majority of people, a few supplements that you would recommend.
So just based on what we know that most people are low in, I would say if I just had to pick 2, D3K2 and magnesium, like a magnesium complex, especially I think for most people, then you get all those benefits. Vitamin D and magnesium are so commonly low in people's lifestyle and diet that yeah, I think that most people would feel change to the whatever mysterious problems have cropped up that they don't really have an explanation for. I think they would see a difference just from taking those 2 supplements.
100%. I have never seen a blood lab of somebody who's had their vitamin D tested where it's like in an amazing range.
Oh, really? Wow.
I've had like in in the standard conventional, okay, you're good range, but it's always on the lower end. I've never seen somebody with like stellar vitamin D when they first start working with me. So definitely second that. And I love how you mentioned your magnesium complex. And we really didn't get a chance to touch on this, but would love for you to answer why you think a complex is really great and the specific magnesiums that you thought would be best to combine.
Yeah, sure. So our complex has, see if I can find it. It has magnesium glycinate, taurate, malate, and orotate. So these are just 4 different chelated forms that each have different benefits. I mean, all chelated magnesium is of course going to improve your magnesium levels, but then there's also benefits that are more prevalent in different forms, like magnesium taurate is especially good for your heart health, and magnesium glycinate is especially good for relaxation. All magnesium helps with like relaxation and stress, but magnesium glycinate maybe more than others. So it just helps you taking 4 different forms that are all chelated it's gonna give you a little bit of like, it's gonna give you a lot of different benefits, more so than just taking one form. So this one also has active B6 pyridoxal 5-phosphate, and that helps with magnesium absorption. So that's why we included that, because it's been shown to improve the amount you absorb. But yeah, I love the idea of a complex, just to make sure that you're kind of covering your bases, like whatever magnesium, whatever benefits come from magnesium, you're gonna get all of them from taking several forms.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you already said this, so apologies, but could you explain to listeners what chelated means?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's one of those things that I like forget that it's not an everyday word. So basically, a mineral like magnesium is not something that your body can easily absorb. So it just means that it's bound to something that your body does want in this form. Like it's bound to something organic in the sense of being something containing carbon. So in this sense, it's going to be amino acids. So these are minerals bound to amino acids, and that's something that is very readily absorbed by the body.
Perfect. And I think you gave the example earlier of magnesium glycinate being bound to glycine.
Glycine, yeah, the amino acid glycine, yeah.
Which is super helpful because I think it
Yes.
helps people understand, okay, that's what it means. That's an example. So cool. I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody because that was something it took me a long time to learn what that meant.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's something, yeah, that I should have explained what I meant by by that, because you're right, that's not something that everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise and breaking down all the questions that I had, my listeners had about supplements. I feel like they are much more equipped to read supplement labels, look for ingredients in supplements, and if they were the specific listeners who were wondering about gut health and skin health, they have a much better idea of what they would be looking for. So thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited to be able to talk to you kind of in real life.
Not just on Instagram. So would love to ask my final question, which is what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about my journey and how I was working a totally unrelated job before I was doing this. So I would say that I would say to my younger self that you don't owe anything to your past experience and your past degrees, whatever you were doing in the past. It doesn't have to define what you do in the future. So you don't need to feel guilt or like you're wasting any kind of potential from whatever you've built in the past. You can always start a new path. You only have one life, so you might as well go for it if you want to try something new. You can always go back to what you were doing if you fail spectacularly at, at the new thing. But yeah, never be afraid, because if I did feel guilty and a little bit afraid for a while about leaving my engineering background behind, but I feel like it's opened so many amazing doors for me, going down this new path, and I'm so glad that I did it.
Yay. Oh, I love that. That's so special. I know that definitely resonated with me. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for being here. How can our listeners find you? How can they purchase Why Not Natural supplements? Give us all the info.
Sure, yeah. So you can find us on both Instagram and TikTok at why not natural _US. and we're at whynotnatural.com, but most people buy either from TikTok shop or Amazon or our website, of course.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I can't believe that we've been chatting since 2021.
I know.
I'm just so grateful for you offering our listeners so much good advice, helping us last season with our affiliate link, and just being such an amazing partner and collaborator. So grateful for you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you too. Thank you so much for sharing about us. And yeah, likewise.
Yay. Good partnership, good team. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Connecting the Dots. If something really resonated with you in this episode, or you simply enjoyed the topic, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star rating and a written review. Also, make sure you subscribe to Connecting the Dots wherever you listen to podcasts so you can be the first to listen when a new episode is released. For more information or to work with me, go to www.kathlyncarney.com or follow me at Kathlyn Carney Wellness on Instagram and TikTok. Follow the show on Instagram at connectingthedots.podcast and on TikTok at Connecting the Dots Podcast. I so appreciate your support, and I look forward to hanging with you next week.